Hi there, welcome to the discussion and exploration of article number 1, explaining the gender wage gap in STEM. Does field sex composition matter? An article written by Catherine McMore and Sharon Sasler, 2016. Before we get into that, based on the relevance of this past weekend, in light of some terrible news that happened before the weekend over in Europe, I want to show you this video. Our group decided that although we were going to provide this as an external resource, it is only 2 minutes, and we felt that it was imperative that it be embedded into our presentation as it was so relevant. So I'll take you there now, and please just listen up, and it is something that we hope to hear more about throughout the discussion board, and it definitely directly impacts this presentation.
Haben Sie eine blaue Karte?
Thank you. Would you accept a blue card?
Ja.
Thank you.
Kevin Mikke.
Do you know which was a place in the Polish theoretical physics Olympiad? The first place of women, of girls. I can tell you, 800. Do you know how many women are in the first 100 of chess players? I tell you, no one.
And of course, women must earn less than men, because they are weaker, they are smaller, they are less intelligent, and they must earn less. That's all.
Mire, señor diputado, según usted, según sus teorías, yo no tendría derecho de estar aquí como diputada, y sé que le duele y le preocupa que hoy las mujeres podamos estar representando a los ciudadanos en igualdad de condiciones con usted. Yo aquí vengo a defender a las mujeres europeas de hombres como usted.
W Polsce jest nas więcej, jesteśmy lepiej wykształcone od mężczyzn i nie życzę sobie, aby Pan w ten sposób traktował nie tylko Polki, ale również Europejki i kobiety na całym świecie.
Ale Pani zamiast mówić, pani wygłasza slogany. Najwyższa pora skończyć ze stereotypami. Jest stereotyp dwudziestowieczny, że kobiety i stereotyp, że kobiety mają taką samą inteligencję jak mężczyzny. To jest stereotyp, który trzeba zniszczyć. Jest to nieprawda. Po prostu i zwyczajnie.
Tak, jesteśmy mądrzejsi.
Proszę Panią, to ja Panią coś powiem. Wie Pani co? A co wy się... Nie Pani poda mi jeden wynalazek zrobiony przez kobietę. Jeden.
Kopernik też była kobieta.
Maria Curie-Skłodowska?
Ale może wynalazek dokonany przez kobietę. To Piotr Curie. Jeden. Czy Pani wie, że Pani wie nawet, że Pani 3 rzeczy, które wymyślili mężczyźni. Czy mop wymyślił mężczyzna, mówiąc zresztą. Skończę, dobrze? Tampaks, czyli OB, też wymyślił mężczyzna. Po trzecia sprawa, feminizm też wymyślili mężczyźni.
Panie pośle, po pierwsze mamy 2017 rok,
tak,
po drugie
nie
byłoby Pana na tym świecie, gdyby nie kobieta.
Tak jest.
So in fact, Jean-Sois Corinne Meeks, member of the European Parliament, does in fact accept the fact that he would not be on this planet if not for a woman. This was in fact Friday, folks. This was 2017. This is not a video from 5 to 10 years ago, and it's a shame that it happened, but our topic of this week and relevance of this article could not be more apparent. So what is gender wage gap? Gender wage gap is the difference in earnings between men and women within the workplace. It is a widely recognized indicator of women's economic equality, and it exists to some extent in every country throughout the world. So what does gender age gap and why does it exist? Well, the percentage of working women in Canada has increased from about 42 to 60% over the last 30 years. This is a dramatic social change, and it's unfortunate that our government and employers have not adequately responded to this need relevant to the reality of women within the workforce, and still today they are at a disadvantage. There are lots of complex factors that do result in the reality of this gap. A large majority of women workers are employed in lower wage occupations and lower paid industries. Another reason for the wage gap is that women are working part-time more, in fact, than men. And according to a recent Huffington Post survey, nearly 70% of the part-time workforce in 2013 within Canada was made up of women. A large portion of this wage gap still does remain unexplained, but of course it is partially due to discrimination. So when we look at STEM jobs, as explained throughout the first part of our video relevant to the legislation, in Canada, all individuals' rights are protected. Every individual should have equal right under law and has the right to equal protection without discrimination throughout the workforce. So STEM jobs, the reality of what a STEM job is classed as is classed as a mathematics, engineering, technology, or science field. These industries, though, today are not completely woman dominated and still today remain heavily male dominant, and they are less likely, women still are less likely than their male counterparts to enter STEM occupations and remain there for an extended period of time. Engineering and computer sciences has the apparent pay gap still today, and within the female workforce of these two fields, engineering and computer science, so the technology and the engineering, the middle of the STEM, is where the biggest need for women are. Science and mathematics, there is a little bit more balance than we see in the other two fields. And looking at the other end of the coin, it does show that throughout Canada over the past 10 years, women ages 25 to 34 do show less of a sign of gap in earnings between their male counterparts. But as women get older and as they start to get into their family development and they start to have children, it seems that while they're building families and while they're at home taking care of the children, the men are building stronger networks and professional development and moving into roles that drive companies forward. So men are still primarily developing new initiatives and receiving opportunities based on that ability to continue working. So preference in the workplace is still apparent for men to dominate industries specific to the STEM industry. It is said that industries are made up of nearly 75% of male workers in all four of the relevant fields. And it's suggested that women still do not experience the same return to work as male counterparts. So when we look at the Equity Act, Employment Equity Act, and the Pay Equity Act, it looks at understanding that we have to have equal grounds and equal pay for equal value and equal work, and that we need to continue to remove those barriers relevant to visible minorities, individuals with disabilities, and women as well. Now, women today do face fewer barriers with regards to employable professions, but the number of those working in the industry is still in fact lower. As we see in this middle infographic, the amount of women that enter college or university to obtain a BA nearly going in at 100%. When they leave after a 4-year degree, it's around 12% graduating into a STEM field. The women then that go on to working greater than 2 years in that STEM job or career choice is less than 5%, and graduates there within a 10-year period is at about 3%. So we can see that there is clearly a gap and there is clearly a need to develop women within the STEM fields. Looking at the development of what we are doing. So coding and coding STEM camps is something that UOIT is doing currently to promote women education and young women getting into the STEM fields. Now, what are we not doing, or what are we doing well? Gender stereotyping. Still an ongoing issue here today as we look at some images relevant to marketing. We can see 2 different coloring books in a recent GTA dollar store. One that promotes young girls how to be gorgeous, smart ways to look good and fabulous, and one that promotes a young boy, smart ways to get smarter and clever, get better grades, improve your memory, and he's on a video game show. The Toys R Us 2015 flyer shows clearly a distinct difference between a stormtrooper and lightsabers and being a superhero as a young boy and having all the technology, and the girls here very relevant to being a pop star, fashion princess. Still, in a lot of ways, seems to be the exact same way that it's been for the past 10, 20, 30 years, something that still hasn't changed. So how can we move forward with regards to dealing with this issue in hopes of eliminating it? Well, we know that the Employment Act states several things, but one key piece does stand out. It states that employment equity means that treating persons the same way, but also requires special measures and the accommodations of differences. So the problem is that it is still in fact up to the employer when individuals are called back to work, or when individuals are looking for employment upgrades or next level opportunities, that there is still special measurements or accommodations for differences. So if there's certain roles or certain certifications that they do have, in fact, because they've been in the role longer, or because they've been able to stay in that role, it's still a problem for women to be able to penetrate the executive level offices in certain fields. So how can we eliminate the gap? We can help women enter higher wage occupations. We can help girls enter STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics careers. And we can address systematic discrimination relevant to male-dominated fields, which is widely apparent. We can also hope to improve workplace policies relevant to family leaves for work, childcare, and the amount of time that women are in fact allowed to stay away from home, and maybe to promote male time spent at home away from the workforce as well. So recognizing the stereotypes is in fact extremely important. As we look at some of our ideas married with some of the Canadian Women's Foundations, these following graphs here just show different ways as an educator that you can look to promote equality and equitable rights for women within the workforce. We can see that Lego now prints women characters, scientists, and being able to explore famous women or women that have accomplished quite a bit in the STEM fields is very important for not only the girls to see within the classrooms or the young women, but also for the boys to see as well. So our ideas as far as what to do: be aware of opportunities, be aware of what is out there. Right now, currently, there is over 1.5 million jobs in STEM-related fields in North America, of which nearly 500,000 of those are going unfilled due to no qualified workers. Those numbers are supposed to double by 2020, according to Pew Research polls. Experience also, we need to be able to show them the experiences. So try your hardest to be able to introduce them to technology or information within those fields. And of course, parent attitudes. Educate all. It's important as a parent to understand that you need to be non-judgmental and drive your child's passions. Whether they're a young girl or a young boy, it's important that you show them the world, and that they are understanding that they can be anything and do anything in any field. So before we leave you here, as we conclude, we need to collaborate. First, of course, we are to go to Blackboard, please, and we have 2 questions that hopefully influence some discussion. First question: do you have a strategy for speaking with young girls about STEM fields or career opportunities? And second question: have you ever found yourself saying to a young girl, "Beautiful work," or "You look so pretty"? Has this above phrase changed at all for you over the years? Do you feel, do you view it differently today? How so?